Hello, and welcome to a new decade here on Paper Traders, a show where two average Joes try to beat the market. I'm Eric, and I'm here with my buddy Danny, and I want to remind you guys that we are streaming live, so any questions, comments, or anything else you might have, just type them there into your browser. They will come to us, and we will try to address them as we can. With that, have a roaring 20s there, Danny.
Yeah, you kind of freaked me out by saying new decade. I keep forgetting that we're in a new decade where I feel like people make it feel like you're starting a whole new life. I don't know. It's a weird concept to me. But yeah, I feel like we're just starting a new year, and that's how I'm looking at it. So, to each his own. But, happy new year to all. Thank you for joining us. I know all eyes are kind of on the political front today.
Which we'll touch on. We will touch on it.
We'll cut through it. Again, we're not a political show, but it's definitely going to be impacting.
It impacts what we do every day.
Yeah, so we'll definitely have to touch on that. And I guess going from there, do you just want to jump right into it? Or?
I guess we might as well.
Yeah.
I mean, so Tehran and everything that's going on with Iran is definitely playing with the markets. I know yesterday we took a pretty big hit. We bounced back a little bit, and now that it seems to kind of settled a little bit. So for those that have been living in a bubble for the last week and haven't been on the internet or anything,
which could be a lot because everybody was on vacation and they could have just been like, you know what, I'm done with the world for right now. So.
Admittedly, I didn't even really know about it until after I had come back. So I'm going to say that it seems fairly cut and dry. The United States had an opportunity to go in and take out this Soleimani guy while he was in Iraq at an airport, and we did.
Yeah, with the drone strike.
Right, with the drone strike, and we did, and we took him out, and people seem to be freaking out about it because
a lot of
there's
memes
going to
on
be
the
a new
internet.
war. People are thinking that there's going to be a draft. It's going to be World War III. It's going to be crazy, man.
It's funny you say that because that's kind of how I found out about it. Was me scrolling through my Instagram feed and just seeing World War III memes all over the place. And I'm going, well, I don't understand. So obviously I go to the internet and see that all this has happened, on Friday. And I'm like, holy crap, So it definitely sparked some ideas and thoughts in your head. But I definitely think they're a little unmerited, in my opinion.
We've talked about this already a couple days in a row because of the fact that you and I see each other fairly regularly.
Yeah, and it's a big deal.
So I'm going to quickly go and insult all those people out there that are watching that seem to think that we're going to World War III and we're going to have a draft. I'm just going to say you're an idiot.
Well, apparently Iran feels the same way.
Yeah.
So.
Not only that, but like the draft was abolished here in the United States in 1973. So shut the F up. Like, I'm so tired of seeing that on the internet. Oh, it's going to be a draft. It's going to be World War III. No,
no more WW3 memes, please.
Let's all remember the small little things about Iran. We've been fighting with them since the 70s. I want to say 78. I could be wrong. But since the 70s and the Iranian Revolution. So it isn't a conflict that just started overnight, everybody.
No, and we've been fighting, just terrorism in general, which he is very closely associated with.
Yeah.
So he's definitely funded a lot of kind of.
He was responsible for capturing
and
2 United States Navy vessels in 2016.
Yeah, so there you go.
He's not.
He's no saint.
Guilt, right? So this guy's notoriously known as a bad dude. We have an option to go get him in Iraq, which is a country that we are occupying. So in a small way, I'm not gonna say it's ours because it's not, but in a small way, it's kind of like us, we're in Illinois, but it's kind of like us going and knocking somebody off in Indiana and then just going back home to Illinois. It really doesn't affect anything. We didn't go into Iran like a certain other president that we had did. Not into Iran, but into another country to take out a target without letting the other country know. So it's a little bit different than that. This is literally kind of just oh, we're here, that guy's there. Oh, gone.
Yeah. And President Trump came out today and kind of addressed everything. As many people may know, there was an attack on a lot of U.S. bases, and the situation has escalated.
And kidnapping.
So he came out today and did an address and basically kind of reinstated his, I wouldn't say pride in it, but his, I guess,
fortitude.
Yeah, that why they did it, and it was kind of like him saying, "Hey, look, this is our statement to all other terrorists.
It was a
to
good
not
move.
Mess with us. If you're going to threaten and attack our people, basically, we're not going to let it go." So it was his way of saying this is basically the beginning of stopping this type of terrorism. So I mean. Also, Mike Pompeo, was it Mike Pompeo that came out?
Yeah.
Also came out and was very behind him. So it's not just Trump who's advocating for this type of action
Right.
that has been taken.
And I think it's a good action. I mean, if you've got this dude who is notoriously known to have been involved in some of the larger terrorist actions against the United States in the last 5 years, we'll say. I think it goes back further than that, but we'll just play it on the safe side and say the last 5 years. And you have an option to get him?
Yeah, well, it's just
go get him.
It's just scary that they were willing to attack us, and then it was. I said this.
But they
to
didn't
you
even
before.
attack us. They took out like a military installation in a foreign country. Like, come at me, bro. You heard me say this before. Like, if you were going to really step up and try to make us a big deal, come at me, bro. You're not going to come at us in Iraq where we're occupying. Well, you're going to come at us like hard.
Well, that's what they said. They shot these missiles, and then immediately their department in Iran was basically like, we don't want to escalate to war. We didn't want to kill anybody. And my mind kind of goes crazy because it's like, I don't understand the thought process of why that would even occur.
Well, because
they didn't want any
realize that they can't do anything. Like, you and I have talked about this before. They are known for proxy wars. They don't actually go and fight anybody face to face. Like you and I right now, if I jumped over this table and punched you, you'd jump over and punch me back.
Or I could be very scared and run away.
Right. But what Iran does is they go and they get their buddy to come in from over here to punch you in the side of the head while they're sitting there going, see, I didn't do anything. Yeah. I didn't do anything.
Well, I mean, that is something that Trump did touch on, that they did receive a large sum of money. And
which president did that?
It was
which older president gave them
not to get too political, but yeah, Obama's administration.
The Democrats
did give out $1.9 billion to them, and he said that this money was being used for terrorist needs, like funding civil war within the country, and even the bombs that were used today or yesterday to attack these U.S. bases. So it's
craziness, man.
Yeah,
it's just crazy.
I think there's a lot to be sorted out. I mean, I think the political scene is going to be something that is going to be on the forefront of 2020, and it's going to affect the markets, which is kind of why we're talking.
We're in an election year.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly.
I mean, this is a pretty big deal.
So you're going to be a lot of campaigns, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, you name it. People are going to be kind of on all sides. There's going to be a lot of issues and debates being kind of drawn up that could affect the market and where kind of certain companies are going to have to go. I mean, you see the regulations with Facebook and Apple, which we were actually talking about before the show, which is crazy to me because I was mentioning how YouTube is becoming this kind of new quote unquote like printing press era where it's just so much information
it's
is
the new way of
distribution
out.
Yeah, because I was put onto this interview. I won't get too far into it, but it was basically how they were describing how it used to be like kitty cat videos and like cute stuff on YouTube, right? And now it's just an influx of so much information where people are actually going out and watching like hour-long videos on how to do stuff or you know what is happening in our country and debates and really just getting involved. And I feel like it's something that we haven't seen, I don't know, in the past couple decades. So
well, I mean, it became a global platform for everybody. Before, visual media used to be Hollywood and MGM and Disney and insert other larger corporation here. And I mean, now we've got like Sinclair Broadcasting, all these other huge conglomerates that own all these other news stations. I mean, now you've made it so cheap and easy that all you got to do, I'm not going to pull my cell phone out of my pocket, but you can literally just take your cell phone, like, boom, there you are, you're on the news.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's gotten cheaper, easier, and more accessible to everyone, which is good and bad. And this is where our conversation came in about whether it's good or bad. I mean, Facebook just went and banned deep fakes because of the election cycle. And like, I'm of the belief that these platforms are there to allow anyone to have their voice,
right,
and give them a platform and allow them a place to actually be heard.
Even though it, some people call it quote unquote fake news.
Even though it might be fake news, but that's where you and I were talking about this, and I was a journalism minor in college. I was taught that it's up to the individual to find out the truth.
Yeah, well, I don't know if this is like a famous quote or kind of ideology behind journalism, but they always say you have to read both sides, and the truth is somewhere in the middle. Is that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Something that you and I had talked about, right?
Said,
yeah, when my first professor, when I was starting journalism school, had gone and told me, or our class, like, listen, it's not about reading one news source. You got to read lots of newspapers to get the full story because everybody falls one way or the other. It's pretty much impossible to write an unbiased story.
Right.
So therefore, to get the truth, you got to read the left and the right to find the truth in the middle. And I feel like we've kind of lost that. I feel like people are lazy and they feel that, oh, well, Joe Blow's got his, Facebook feed. What does he got to say? Oh, he's got, some guy telling me that, immunizations are bad and they give kids autism. Oh, well, he's got to be right.
Right. And
Well,
I definitely agree in some sense. And I said this before we got on, is that at what point do we cross a line where most of the information out there is fake? And there are a lot of people who are uneducated on a lot of topics and might read something for the first time and believe that's the truth or whatever it may be, but it's not. But because it was their first kind of introduction to that,
they take it as Bible, right?
Right. So it could be a very dangerous road to go down without any
And that's where I'm saying,
regulations.
I feel like that's where people got lazy. Should be up to the individual to go and read that information and go, well, let's see how true that is, and then go and do a little bit of research.
Right. But could I pose the question of it was a different time and less information to dive through?
Oh, you're definitely not wrong there. I mean, again, you've got every single human being on the planet essentially right now who's got access to Facebook or any sort of other.
Basically, everybody in the world can read the same article I'm reading,
right,
and so on and so forth.
Yep, essentially.
It's the same information, but it kind of depends who reads it and how they take it, and then so.
You're not wrong, and that's the reason I feel like we need to go and you need to have a little bit of a personal accountability and read some stuff and educate yourself on what actually is happening instead of just kind of like these idiots now going, oh, we're going into World War III and we're going to get drafted.
Yeah.
Well, if you did a little reading, we're not going into World War III because this operation's been going on for a long time and the draft doesn't exist anymore. So do a little research.
I'm counting my blessings. I wasn't much of a war advocate. So
well, they also don't want our old asses either.
Yeah, right. They don't want
We're
us.
too old for that. We had this conversation at our age. They go over that hill and get those guys. And you and I are too old. We're going to go, nah, there's people waiting on that side.
I guess we have a little bit more background, I guess.
Yeah, the military wants that 18-year-old who's full, piss and vinegar to just go charging over that hill without any questions asked. But
can be a scary thought.
Right.
But thank God we're not going down that road. Again, I just want to reiterate, Trump did come out and say kind of like this was his big statement, and that Iran also was saying that they didn't want to go into an escalated war. So there was positivity came out of this negative kind of situation.
Before we go even further onto any of this, you actually brought up a point that I thought was funny because I actually read that same statement, but then shortly after, I had also read about how they had gone and there's a plane from Ukraine that was shot down in Tehran.
You were telling me about that.
With 160 people that have died. So
because Trump was supposed to touch on it, but I was reading an updated kind of like article thing that they do on the internet, where updates minute to minute, and it said that he didn't touch on it.
I'm sure he didn't touch on it because it's still being investigated. But if I had to guess, I mean, this is being
just
super conspiracy. Yeah, exactly. Super conspiracy theory here. I'm going to assume what happened is they decided to go, well, excuse my language, we'll just go and bomb the heck out of them right now just to get it over with. And in that process, there was a plane that got in the way that went down, and now there's a whole bunch of innocent people that died, and they went, ooh, what do we do?
It definitely seems like something that maybe Trump didn't want to touch on because, like you said, there wasn't enough information. Right. Speculation is never really a good thing when it comes to...
I'm speculating like a mofo, but I got a feeling they decided to go crazy with those rockets and then realized, maybe we're not as good at this war thing as we think we are.
I think we're going to find out very soon. Ukraine said that they are already deploying people of their military to go investigate and look to see what happened. So I'm sure very shortly we will have an idea because there was a lot of people, not just from Ukraine. I believe they said 7 different countries were involved in this.
Bad luck with planes, man. I feel like the last 5 big flights, short of the Malaysia one, I feel like those were all Ukrainian-based companies.
I don't know, bad juju. That's. I guess that's a rabbit hole we could go down, but I'm going to divulge.
Yeah,
from that
we're done with the political speech. Real quick though, Mike Peters, welcome. We were back as usual. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, it was nice to take a break. I will say, to kind of get away from the political stuff that we're sitting here talking about. Just sit with family, watch a lot of stupid morning TV shows with my mom and sisters. Is basically what I did in the morning. So this is definitely a change of pace. So
yeah, for sure.
Welcome back to everybody.
Yes, well, we got a few people watching. Mike Peters here, who's definitely involved as usual, and then Fupa Boss, the stand-up good morning to you. I'm sure I'm messing your name up, but it's probably for the best because I got a feeling if I read it the right way, we'd probably be getting in trouble somehow. So, hello, welcome to the new decade, and welcome to the conversation.
Well, Ifuabasas is kind of like how I'm going to take it now. That's his name.
Yeah, I just got a feeling if I read it the right way, it's probably
Let's
not.
just keep it Ifuabas. Yeah.
It's not appropriate. Touching on other news, Danny, here in Illinois, we had quite the change as of January 1st, didn't we?
Yeah, I almost forgot about it until I started seeing just kind of my news feed and Instagram feed being completely taken over. So on Wednesday, January 1st, there was the legalization of marijuana, which is now recreational. So basically anybody over the age of 21, is it 21, right?
Yep, 21.
Over the 21 can go and buy weed, which is, in my opinion, a little weird at first.
It's strange.
Yeah, I mean, we're the first state to do it by legislation, right?
No,
Where the government's the one who set it in place, because other states were where the people set it in place, right? Where we voted it in.
Well, I guess, it's kind of the same thing. Eventually it goes to your state senate and they have to ratify it. So
it wasn't on a ballot per se. It was something that the Illinois legislation basically voted in themselves because they were like, we need money somehow.
Yeah, exactly. We're broke.
This is a great way of
right. We need some
generating
tax
revenue. Which, speaking of, they made a crap ton of money.
They did. They made $11 million in the first week.
$11 million in 5 days. The first day on Wednesday, they had $3.2 million in sales.
Hold on, I'm going to pull out my little calculator here because here's another thing about this whole thing. I know that the conversations that I've seen about the legalization of Illinois' marijuana businesses, just hit myself in the face, has been that the taxes are extremely high.
Well, this is and that's a problem not just here that people are going to probably see, but I believe there's many articles written about how California's black market still thrives due to. He's got.
Did you see that right there? Can you see it? Tell me if I bring it up down.
$3.6 million.
On $11 million, our government here in Illinois made $3.6 million.
And that's in 5 days.
And that's in 5 days. But that's ridiculous if you think about it, because that's 33%. That's the tax. The take by the government on recreational marijuana here in Illinois, which, again, I'm sure we'll probably get Dave Bourne on here, who will tell us about how that is a huge mistake and will keep the black market just clipping.
That is a great idea. We should probably contact him and get him on next week.
We should give him a little time to well, we gotta digest. Let him digest a little bit of the numbers first, because it's going to take a little while to analyze all that and see how it actually all worked out.
Yeah, these articles are just rolling out this week, so these numbers are very fresh and new. But
the conversation's been good. It's been so good that businesses have been closed down because they've run out of product.
I thought I was Monday morning, I'm driving in from my parents' house, finally getting back from vacation, coming into the office, and I'm listening to the news, and all I hear is literally over and over again, all the dispensaries have shut down for the week. And it's like, why? And it's because they too much sales. Yeah, they ran out of stuff. So I don't know if that's a good thing, maybe, to have too much business. It's going to show that maybe people are more interested than we think.
I think it shows exactly how interested people are. I think that when you are within the first week of sales and you literally run out, that just shows you how much money could be made. And I think that our local government here is going to go, oh, well, crap, if we made $3.6 million on that, maybe we should expand a little bit.
Yeah. Well, they were saying how this is like one of the biggest showings for any state on the day it actually legalized it. So I think it's something that we're going to have to definitely keep an eye on. There's a lot of kind of companies that are here in Illinois. I think, what is one that people keep an eye on?
Cresco.
Yeah, I've seen a few articles about Cresco.
Yeah, they're going to be huge.
So there's definitely some investment plays that could happen over the coming years with these types of things becoming legal. We'll definitely see if anything ever happens federally anytime soon, because we know that the House kind of pushed some things through, but
for banking though, it wasn't even for anything for legalization. It was for banking that they passed.
Oh, I thought no. They passed something where they wanted to federally legalize
hemp is legal.
A weed, but they have to pass it through the Senate now, and the Senate House majority is very against it. It's not something he's going to push through. He's already been very vocal about that.
Yeah, McConnell does not like weed.
So I think it's something that we may see in the next maybe 5 years. But speaking on taxes, is that something we're going to have to, people are going to worry about federally and state wise.
What do
Like,
you mean? Oh, you have to pay federal and state tax?
If
Oh,
people
I'm
are already
sure.
complaining, like,
I mean, if you buy a pack of cigarettes, you got to pay both. You got to pay state and federal tax on it. So.
right. So I don't know. I think the whole complaining about taxes and stuff might be subdued because at some point this is going to be overtaxed, just like tobacco.
Well,
in my opinion.
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's another vice, so I'm sure Nina will be checking that out on the new, ETF vice thing. Which I'm sure it's going to pop up there, but the taxes are definitely going to cause a problem. Dave Borden told us in the past, California's had a problem with that. The black market's still going to exist. What this is doing is allowing people that didn't have an outlet to the black market to now legally go and purchase, essentially.
Or just mom and dads who are just like curious. You know what I mean? They're just.
My parents were very interested. They were very interested when it was legalized. I was talking to them about it, and I was like, "Did you ever think in your timeline that you would see marijuana legal?" Because they grew up in that hippie era, and they're like, "No, I actually didn't think this would ever happen."
It's very true. Yeah, my parents did grow up in the same era, kind of the 1969 to the 70s and the hippies, and they both said the same thing. I remember asking them, they were like, "This is, in my opinion, weird to even think about."
It's very weird. Even as a person of my age, it's very strange. I never thought it would be legal.
No, but here we are, sitting here today in a legal state.
Could go down to the store right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, not
crazy.
technically, they're closed.
No, I think they opened back up today. I think they opened back
okay,
up
did
today.
they?
I think the couple shops that were shut down are actually back open today.
They're getting their products back in. Okay.
And actually, funny enough, it didn't affect medical people at all, which is strange.
Oh, I think that kind of makes sense though, because they would probably want to keep, product for people who are medically in need.
You'd
of
hope
something,
so,
right? Not for somebody who's just like, I feel like getting high.
I mean, you'd hope so, but stranger things have happened, I guess.
Yeah, very true. Very true.
News-wise, Danny, I don't really have much else. Is there anything else that's piquing your interest out there?
No, other than what is affecting my portfolio.
Well, then maybe we should just go right into the battle zone.
Yeah, let's
Battleground it is.
Let's do it.
You gonna go first? All right. Well, Danny, you seem like you got something to say. I don't really have much, so why don't you go ahead and take over for the moment?
All right, yeah, I just have some more kind of positive sentiment towards a company that we bought into. Actually, it was our first company that we bought into, which is Square Inc.
You've really done well with that stock.
Well, we didn't do well in the first, so we bought it kind of on the top end. They came out with earnings, and 2019 wasn't the biggest year for them. It was a little slow, but yesterday, Bank of America came out and was like, "Hey, this is a great buying opportunity." The company didn't do so well in 2019, but the upside is just looking great. They put out a price target of $75. It's currently, I think it was at like 63
right now.
But yeah, it's jumping up. It's had 2 days of about 3% jumps on Tuesday and then today on Wednesday. So I'm loving that price action. It's great to start to see them fill that gap. I feel like they were trading sideways because there was really no news for investors to react on. So this is just great positive sentiment for me to hopefully see some more gap fill. We did buy it here. Let me see if I can pull up this portfolio here.
Oh, you want me to look? I got it open for you if you want.
Oh yeah, sure. If you got it open,
because I'm looking along here with you to make it easy on you. You got so much going on there.
Yeah. So Square, we bought it in like 78.
Yep.
So we're only $10 short. I mean, in my opinion, this company can really soar. It has a lot of upside potential when you look at international markets and the way
It's looking pretty green, man.
Yeah. So I'm excited about their growth potential. We've done really well with Disney. We've done really well with AT&T, and then our dividend share ETF. We've done pretty darn well with. The only other one we kind of did a risky play on was GW Pharmaceuticals, which is kind of a, I wouldn't call it they don't want to come out as a company that they're like, hey, we're a marijuana play. They're kind of on the back burner. They don't want to associate themselves 100% with it.
It's almost just like, not a retailer, but they're a like a real estate agent essentially.
No, that's IIPR.
Is that IIPR?
Yeah, you always mix those two up.
Always.
Yeah, IIPR is the real estate company that buys commercial
and then rents it to them,
and then rents it back out to these
grow
companies. GW is actually in the medical marijuana field of growing and stuff. So they're actually in the production side of it. But again, they don't like to say like this is our only business. They have a lot of other things they do. So they don't want to get dragged down by kind of how the cannabis industry has been. over the past year or so. So that was my safe play into marijuana. We've done okay. It hasn't really done much, in my opinion. We bought in around 100. It's at 105. So, yeah, we're sitting kind of okay. So, portfolio-wise,
good, man.
yeah, I'm happy. We're in the green. Yeah, we're making progress. It's 2020, but I do want to say I do want to start to get a little bit, I don't want to say aggressive, but more active in buying stocks.
Yep.
I feel like the past 6 months when we were doing this, I kind of created a portfolio that I felt comfortable with, that I felt like could be very stable and bring in a little bit of extra cash. So it's kind of done what I wanted. Obviously, we had a few setbacks, but again, we're moving in that positive direction. So I think over the next coming weeks here, we're going to start adding some stuff to the portfolio and maybe getting a little bit more into it. So be on the lookout, please.
Well, you're doing very good, man. Your portfolio's looking pretty sweet.
Yeah, and so is yours, by the way.
Mine's looking
you're,
all right.
You're technically in the winning situation.
Well,
here.
actually, yeah, and I've already pulled money out. So, I mean, you've been sitting, haven't sold anything out. My portfolio, nothing special. I mean, everything's kind of green today. Take-Two doesn't count because we got rid of it. In fact, I'm just going to delete that off of there because it's kind of just annoying because it's not really even part of my portfolio any longer. Yeah, everything's doing pretty well. I mean, I'm not overall feeling too solid about it though, because my market value for it's pretty low.
Yeah, but your overall return is
great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm making very calculated moves, and just like you this year, I'm gonna kind of resolve myself to try to get more involved with bigger stocks that I can hold. I don't know if you're pulling up my machine right now.
Yep, we're looking at Boeing here.
Boeing right here, I've been waiting for. They had some really bad news that came out yesterday that there might be an actual mechanical issue with the 737 Maxes, which I thought would drop the price a little bit, and it kind of has, but it kind of hasn't.
This stock over the past couple of years has literally just been on a skyrocket.
I know, and that's kind of where I wanted to get in.
I remember when it was at like $100,
right?
And then every other day I kept seeing it $20 more, $30 more. I'm like, oh my god, I wish I got it.
Those government contracts, man, they pay out really well.
Yeah, they do.
So I mean, I've really wanted to get into this stock at 332. It's still way too high for me, and I mean, it's not too high in terms of what I could pay, but in terms of the type of move I'd want to put into this and the type of play I'd want to make, I gotta wait for it to come down. I'd say that I'd probably be a buyer somewhere around.
I mean, those
between 250 and 3 probably, but.
I mean, those estimates for 2021 are looking pretty juicy to say that you could gap up to around $400. So I feel like the stock definitely has room to move, depending on how.
I just wish it wouldn't. I wish it would drop a bit so I could get in. Like I said, yesterday's news about the mechanical issue, I was like, oh, this is it. And I was watching yesterday, and they didn't do anything. So I was like, dang it.
Well, you never know. All you need is a kind of a drop back in the general market. Maybe you don't need to look for an actual like a bad news bear for the company, but maybe for just the market for a couple of days.
And you're not wrong.
Like a 2% drop in the market. You're like, oop.
I've actually been waiting for one of the two, but there hasn't been anything that big of a move wise for me to actually get in. So this one's still on my list, but I'm going to start screening and looking more in depth to see what else I can find.
Yeah, I feel like the market's just waking back up. You know what I mean? Everybody was kind of in that lull mode. The volume was very low. Wasn't much really going on. Even today, we're up, marginally. So, yeah, I think it's just a time that we're gonna have to wait and kind of pick our opportunities to jump in at the market. But it sounds like both of us are very, I wouldn't say eager, but I am.
Yeah, I'm pretty eager at this point.
I'd like to make some plays, man.
I gotta get something in here because I'll tell you, my market cap is pretty low. I could get more into there. I feel like I've kind of been
put your cash to work.
I've been pulling back a little bit, trying to really wait for those moves, and I've made some good moves, but I got to really start putting some more money in.
All right, well, we'll see where it takes us, right?
Right, exactly. So,
new decade, new year.
Let's see what we got here.
New portfolio. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling really confident.
Right. Mike Peters is talking gold stocks, oil stocks getting hammered today. He is right because of the Iran thing. Oil is getting hammered. I think overnight I saw it get down to, I think it went up to 70 and it came back to 60, I think is what I heard.
Very volatile.
Yeah, those are tough moves that I'm not going to play with too much.
I don't really watch those types of commodities either. I'm not even fully aware of kind of how the price action works on those.
Yeah, they're pretty crazy. Which pretty much as soon as something globally happens, like OPEC makes a peep or something that belongs to OPEC or some huge oil country makes a move.
Yeah, there's so many factors that I don't understand, and I wouldn't know how to calculate anything like. So yeah, that's a
That's
little
not
out of
really
my
our world.
depth.
Yeah, that's not even our world really. So I mean, we could look at producers. We could look, or not producers. We could look at the miners and whatnot. But yeah, and short of actual commodities, that's not really our gig. So I'm like, yeah, you probably are right. I would say that oil stocks probably are getting hammered today. Probably a good buying opportunity if you are into commodities. A penny stock company called SG Blocks, SGBX. I don't think we even cover those, Mike. SGBX. I don't think it's even going to come up with anything. Yeah, SG Blocks. We probably don't have any coverage.
Yeah, there might not be any analyst coverage, which is where our ranking system
Right.
kind of stems to, is the earnings estimates coming out. So it doesn't look like there's enough coverage specifically on the stock, but what we can do is kind of give it a little bit more of a look. And maybe give an opinion on a later episode.
Yeah, I'm sure nobody else we have will probably take this because of the fact that we don't cover them. I don't really know anything about them. I'm looking at the chart though, and I'm going to tell you it's not looking good for them.
Yeah, they started up pretty high.
Yeah, started up at 6, and they're now in the pennies range, literally. I don't know, Mike.
But you see the volume spike on when they get to the pennies. So
what is this?
Definitely a day trading stock. It looks like.
I gotta figure out what they do because I mean, unless there's some SG Blocks is a premier designer, innovation, and fabricator of container-based structures. So they make stuff for like Bed Bath and Beyond, standard building code requirement. Oh no, sports developers, architects. Okay, so Mike, I don't know about this one, man. I'll be honest with you. This seems like a pretty weird play to get into, and you could probably take your money and get into like a real stock somewhere that'll probably be moving for you.
Definitely has volatility, and when it has volatility,
scary.
usually my number one thing to say is just be careful.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much coverage, so that makes you even more nervous. So. That and what else did Mike got to say here? The Boeing 737-800 that went down in Iran. It was a 737 that went down in Iran this morning. So, haha.
Yeah.
Making the news again, Boeing. Well, Mike, if you're like me and you're looking for a dip, maybe this will help us get one because, gosh darn it, I want a dip on Boeing.
I don't think it'll affect the company directly. It was something that was indirect, so
yeah.
Good luck with that dip, but it will come. There
Pretty
will
sure
be
it was
a dip.
yeah.
You'll find it. Just got to be patient.
I'm pretty sure it was an Iranian missile that brought that plane down, but time will tell on that. We'll catch me on that one next week. Once the truth comes out, you guys can either kill me or tell me I was right. Anyway, with that, I'm just gonna say, Happy New Year, guys. Welcome back. It's gonna be a pretty interesting year, I think, especially given all the stuff that's happening. And Danny, you got anything else to say?
Nope, that's it from us.
All right, we'll see you all next week.
Later.